are, Chiro Mafia, me and Joey. Yo, Joey and Freddie here,
How
bringing
you
you.
doing? Hey,
How you
forget
doing,
about it.
man? Yeah, when Italian, everybody's name ends with a Y, like Joey and Johnny, and when I was growing up, it was like my dad. I look at the old black and white films when I was a little kid, because of the Fourth of July parties, and my dad grew up in downtown Philly, where all the neighborhoods were segregated, like the
Yeah,
Italians and the Jews and the
yeah,
blacks, right?
yeah.
It's kind of still like that, but not as much. And it was like, Dad, how can we call him, Timmy Two Fingers? They go, well, look at his left hand. It's like there was all these names, like I didn't even know their name. We just knew what name that my dad called them.
He's
And
got
that's what
two
we called
fingers.
them. I know. Yeah, so I was
That's
like, and then
funny.
I look at my mom and dad's wedding. This is they got married in 1959, right? So it's all black and white. And then you see like these guys over there, they're hanging out in these suits, and you're just no, they're definitely sketchy, man. Like they're all in their
Exactly.
little group over here, and these people are over
Exactly.
here. Oh
My
man.
my mother's side, there was a couple on there. They ran numbers. They ran some numbers.
Oh
So
yeah,
you
of
didn't
course.
know this till I was older, but I think I told you this years ago. But I remember it. I was I'm thinking 9 or 10, and you start kind of paying attention, asking questions. And I remember saying to my dad, like, hey, how come Uncle Lou doesn't have any tools? Because he ran like an aluminum siding business. I'm
Yeah,
like, he doesn't have any tools. Like, what the hell is that?
I know, dude.
Drives
I
a
had an
Cadillac. He
uncle
had the
like that.
magnetic side. They put the magnetic side on the side of the car. You can take it
Yeah,
out.
absolutely. I had an uncle, it was Uncle Duke, man, and Uncle Duke had a roll of cash on him. He'd pull out a big roll and
Yeah,
he'd flip us like, a buck. Yeah, thanks.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then he had this used car lot. It was like a house with all these cars that nobody would buy just on the front lawn. It's like, where does Duke get all these cash? These cars suck. Like, and I would ask who's buying these cars? Because I see the same cars year after year.
Nobody unless the IRS is asking. Then he's turning
Exactly, man. But Uncle Duke had his fat roll of cash, man, all the time. And of
Oh,
course,
that's
there's
funny.
all these people over for Sunday dinner,
Yeah, yeah,
Sunday dinner. Where'd all these people come from? Who are these
yeah,
people?
yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, it's freaking hilarious.
Good days,
So
man.
yeah, see, that was our lifestyle. So that's why we're on here, chiropractic lifestyle, right?
Correct.
What's that
Correct.
mean? They live chiropractic.
Correct. Yeah. So we were talking about getting some docs on. We're going to start that probably next podcast, but we want to get some interviewers. So we want to hear who you guys want to hear. Now, here's the challenge. Fred and I were just talking about. They got to be Italians. They
Yeah,
got to be Italians. They got to be
yeah,
and they got to have a little shtick. You know what I'm saying? Hey, and so if we know that a lot of other docs that we like, we associate with, obviously they're not made guys because they're not 100% Italian. So we bring them in, we let them sit at the table, but they don't go into the private meetings. Like they're not, I don't know. Do we bring them on if they're not Italian? Do we give them a temporary certificate for the day? What do we do there, Fred?
Well, here I was looking at it because you got guys like Dan Sullivan. There's an Irish guy.
Yeah,
We got Neil Cohen, a Jewish guy.
right.
You got the
Exactly.
Jewish guy and the Irish
Right.
guy.
Exactly. I don't know. I
And
don't
so
know.
I don't know, man, but geez, are they lovers, principled lovers? I mean, I think
They
we can
are.
allow one Jewish guy and one
We
Irish guy.
can't have them first, though. We can't have them first.
Absolutely not.
We
We'll
got
slip them in the
to.
middle. But at least we got to mail them some biscottis. You got to be doing something Italian on the interview.
Exactly. Yes. Okay. Okay. I got it. I agree with that. It's a good suggestion.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. So that's good. So you
So
got
we're
to be
working on
living.
that. So yeah, whoever you guys want to hear, click it. And then Fred and I Fred was talking about he's a master at communication and leading people. And we were talking about creating believers, right? So what does that mean, Fred, when you say that creating believers?
First of all, man, master, geez, dude. If anybody's the master, it's over there. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing about mastery. So I don't give that title to myself by any stretch, but what we do give the title to is we're unwaveringly purpose driven to make a difference in generations. That we're not building practices, we're building legacies. That you're getting patients, you're creating chiropractic patients long after not only your practice but long after your life.
Absolutely.
Are the people in your practice, are people in their family going to be living chiropractic 4 generations from now, way beyond your lifestyle? If you're a spirit having if the principle is truth, universal intelligence and innate intelligence, and we're a physical body, then that means our spirit is eternal, which means we're coming in with this purpose at this time to change the life and the thinking, lifestyle, belief system of every generation. Now, when your purpose on day one is to change generations, then you're going to talk about generational patterns. You're going to get a new patient, and what are you going to say? Where did you get this health pattern from? Where did you get this spinal problem from? And who are you passing it to? Now, you know, when you're married, if you're married or in a relationship, right, you get one person that comes in with all their shit, right? Not only their belief systems and core values, then you got another person coming in with all their belief systems and core values. You bring them together and then you try and work out your shit together, right? Well, that's no different than a mom coming in with their generational health and spinal patterns, a father coming in or a husband with their generational health and spinal patterns, and now they're procreating a combination of those patterns in their kids. The same subluxation health patterns. Now, it's not genetic, it's acquired. Now, what can be genetic? Well, anatomical anomalies can be similar, but what's acquired? Belief systems, posture patterns, behaviors, all diets, like all those things are acquired. You can have an anatomical pattern and that's genetic. Like I have a spatulated TP or whatever, you know, maybe you have 6 lumbars, like that's different. Spinal structure is not genetic. It's acquired unless you got a hemivertebrae or some anatomical anomaly. And so that's the thing, because when people think it's genetic, then they think there's nothing I can do about it.
Correct.
So who did you get it from? There's always power, right? They have the power to change it. So because that can be an objection. Well, it's blood pressure. Yeah, it's genetic. And so if we look at how do you handle that objection? I'm getting off on a tangent, but people might want to know that because that's powerful. So when you study human behavior, 3 things that make a person powerless: something they can't change, something that's out of their control, and what's the other one? Something that's inevitable. So when a person says, well, it's genetic, what's that mean? They're inevitable. I can't change this, out of my control. It puts them into powerlessness. And you're trying to tell them, well, we can change that. We help people immediately. They're like, fucking chiropractors think they can change everything. I knew it. You know, I go to my medical doctor. They're walking in with a belief system, right? Have you ever heard an objection? And then I'll let you talk.
You know, all right, go, baby.
Yeah, blood. No, my medical doctor is handling that. No. I don't want to talk about that. All I have is no. My doctor is handling that. What's their belief system? They use you for their back pain and they use their MD for their health problems. Is that a contradiction of chiropractic lifestyle? So what are they going to do? They're going to take their kid to a pediatrician, and they probably won't take their kid to you because they don't have back pain. Right. So yeah, I mean, you're dude. You
got to lead them, like you know this, and that's what you're talking about. You got to lead them. You got to lead them to. I understand you got to meet them. You know, so some docs are like, well, I got to meet him there and stay there. No. But then you can't, you know, we were talking about this today. Like, you know, Reggie's attitude was like, tell me all your symptoms. And then he would rip it all up and go, okay, whatever, you know, let me tell you what chiropractic's about. So that's a little harsh too. So how do you marry the two, which is what Fred's a master at as well, is is you address it, you address both at the same time. I'm going to meet you where you're at, but I'm going to elevate it each and every time. Well, I can appreciate that, but let me ask you this: where do those nerves go? Are you straight or crooked? What's happening to those nerves? What organs do they affect? What's happening to the organs with you being so sick? So what's that going to do to your blood pressure? So if we reduce that and that area gets better, what's going to happen? So what's doing the healing? So just asking the appropriate questions. I always say, find the questions to ask them that'll get them to say what you want to tell them. Because we as chiropractors, we want to tell everybody. I can appreciate that. We're excited. We're passionate. I want to tell. Wait a minute. Hold on. The only thing you can do is you can ask the question that's going to get them to say what you want to tell them. So if you want to tell them their spine's really bad, like, holy shit, that's the worst one I've ever seen, you have to get them to ask the question to get them to tell them. Because there's a difference between I know and I have. If they say, well, this is what Dr. Fred told me, that's light. That's subjective to sabotage. But if they go, oh no, those people, I got this, I have that. Like, you could show them 40 studies to say they don't have it. It doesn't matter. They've embodied it. They got it. It's part of their physiology now, right? So by asking them questions, you're going to then lead them to that same knowing of that physiologic knowing of, yeah, what's healthier, straight or crooked? Straight's better. Are you straight or crooked? I'm crooked. So what do we got to do? We got to make it straighter, right? Why is it better if you're crooked? It damages you, makes you sick.
There's two human behavior principles that he's using. One is the law. How often does a law happen out of 10? 11 times, right? 11 out of 10. Yeah. So it's a law. It's called the law of commitment and consistency. Meaning when people agree, especially when they say it, then it wires into their mind. It feels like belief in their system. And if lifestyle is a belief system, what Joe is doing, when you tell somebody something, you're teaching them what to think. Now, how many people on this call don't like to be told what to do besides me, right? That's why you're a chiropractor, right? Because we want to break status quo. So he's teaching them how to think. And in the process, he's rewiring their brain from information into a belief system. So he's not teaching them what to think. He's teaching them how to think. Because otherwise, if you teach them what to think, you create a sheep. Sheep goes out into a world of wolves. How many times have you had a patient, I'm so fired up, blah, 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 blah,
Right.
And they go home, you know what? And they call in, yeah, I'm going to my sister's orthopedist. And they don't come back to date. Why? Yeah. Because you created a sheep, not a wolf. She didn't know, that patient didn't know how to stand up for themselves.
Exactly.
So there's three. I'm going to give you, first of all, let me handle the blood pressure thing because I told you I'd handle the objection.
Yeah, hammer.
So then Joe did it with a series of questions, masterful. And so here's another way I would say, well, okay, so if what you don't want to do is disagree with a belief system. Now, how do you know you ran into a belief system? Because it has no fucking logical sense. If someone says something that has no freaking logic, you ran into a belief system. And what you don't want to do is disagree. I'm not saying you need to agree, but you can align. You can align without agreeing. Right? So you say, okay, I understand. And you've probably been told it's genetic. So I understand. I understand doesn't mean I agree. So I'd say, so let me ask you a question. If you have a genetic predisposition to heart problems, then that would be something you're concerned about. Have you had any relatives die of heart attacks? So that's what you don't want to do. Well, yeah, that's why I'm on medication. Great. So let me ask you a question. That's Joe's great, famous preface. Let me ask you a question that you got from your dad, right? Hey, Joe, did I do a good Joe Borio?
Yeah, it was great. It was perfect.
Let me ask you a question.
I don't even know I do it. I swear to God, I don't even know that I do it, and I do it.
Yeah, all the time. That's your preface with everything. It's awesome. So I say, let me ask you a question. Do you think every person in every generation with a genetic predisposition always 100% of the time gets the disease? They have to say no to that.
Right.
So I'd say, so if you know you have a genetic predisposition, and that's a heart, is that a pretty important organ? You probably don't want to have a problem in that organ.
No, do not.
So if there was something you could do that would actually deal with that predisposition where you didn't have that problem, would you want to know about it? Nobody's going to say no to that answer, but look on the small agreement. Would you want to know about it? I didn't say, would you want to change your life right now?
Exactly.
No, that's jumping off a 100-foot cliff. So if you want him to jump off a 100-foot cliff, we got to take him down 99 steps. Yeah. Now, Joe did that with about 6 consecutive questions. And so once you do that, go, because we help people that every day. Hey, one of the most common cause of high blood pressure is a neurological problem. And these patterns run in families. So if your family has a pattern in their upper back and neck that is repeating through generations, that's one of the predisposing conditions, would you want me to check that in your spine when we do the exam? They're going to say, well, of course. Now I'm going 2 knuckles deep on that exam. Oh, they're going to be squirming all over the table, man. They will feel my thumb, and it'll feel like it's 2 feet into their spine. But the reality is, you're not even pressing that hard. They're subluxated. Exactly. So I'm going to give you 3 principles on day 1 that if you do these 3 principles and you get that in your mindset, because this is what Joe has mastered, is lifestyle is 80% mindset, 20% systems. Because once you have the mindset, the systems are automatic. How did you repeat those exact questions? Because you already think like that. He doesn't need a script. He's going to know exactly what to ask. If you memorize a script, but you don't have the mindset, you're going to forget the questions. But if you have the mindset, you don't need to know Joe's questions. You're going to ask your own questions that directly apply to the person you're talking to. So lifestyle is 80% mindset, 20% systems.
Exactly right. Yeah. You're thinking, like, again, what's healthier, straight or crooked? I mean, what's going to happen to the nerves? I mean, it's so simple that once you own that, like, you look at everyone else as damaged. Like, everyone else is damaged if they're not thinking that way. So my job is to remove the damage, if you will, to remove the subluxation above the atlas, the one between the ears, because there's no way that you can hear this level of questioning and just come out and not agree with it 100%, like Fred's saying. And if you agree with it 100%, then you have no choice but to do something or take some action, because you're the one that derived at the conclusion. So
yeah. So here's the other principle I was saying. One was law of commitment and consistency. Here's another principle. Self-persuasion is the most powerful type of influence. So when Joe is asking questions and they're answering, not only are you invoking the law of commitment and consistency, multiple agreements. When people agree, they feel responsible to follow their agreements, and they feel it in their nervous system. You're rewiring them. The second thing is what they say matters to them much more than what you say.
Exactly. 100%.
They believe what they say. They may not believe what you say.
Yes, exactly. That's it. I get that. I get when people, and again, I know you and I talked about this over the last 12, 15 years, but I get that. Like, there's that difference between I have or Dr. Fred said I got, and once they say I have, so my attitude is, all right, if I know that's a stronger position, how do I get them to say I have? I have subluxation. I have damage in my spine. I have problems, and that's what's causing these other health problems. When my spine is sick, I'm sick. Like, how do I get them to and it's the only way that I found to do it was to ask him questions. So Fred knows why it works. I don't. He's smarter than me. I just know what to do, because Fred would always go, Joe, you're doing this and this. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but it works. And, I derived at it through having some great mentors, some great teachers, being around my dad, and from trial and error. You get over there and you want to go, okay, Fred, you don't have a normal lordosis, and you got thickening of the posterior longitudinal ligament that's leading to stenosis spine. They don't know what the fuck you're talking about, you know. But if you show them and say, hey, look, here's what normal is. Are you normal? No. Are you straight or crooked? Why is it bad? And you just go through those series of questions, and you know, CBP, it doesn't matter what technique you're using, you know, whatever you're doing, it all makes sense. It all makes sense. What's your nerve? Oh, you chiropractor, so you can correct anything. Well, I appreciate that. I get that. Let me ask you a question. What's under control of your brain? What's your brain?
You just said it again.
I do it. And they're going to go, my brain.
It is.
And how does your brain talk to everything? Through your spine. So if your spine's crooked, does it work better or worse? Well, it works worse. So if your spine's crooked, how do you straighten it? Let me ask you a question. You got crooked teeth. You got crooked teeth. Do you go to your kids got crooked teeth? Do you go to your pediatrician? Go, listen, he's going to need more Tylenol and Advil. Does that straighten crooked teeth? No. What straightens crooked teeth? The orthodontist. So here's your spine. It's crooked, right? So how do you straighten it? Advil and Tylenol straightens it? Like you're going to take that and your spine's going to get straighter? What's the only way to straighten your spine? You need an orthodontist. But you know what? They straighten teeth. Chiropractors straighten vertebrae. So, I mean, it just, you know, I think if you just go to that core, use the principles that Fred's teaching, use some of the logic. Again, you don't need to know the script. You just ask the question that evokes the answer in which you want to tell them. And you're going to be, listen, nothing's 100%, right? Fred and I would love to get out there and say, do this. It's fucking 100%. It ain't going to be 100%. But the reality is it's going to be closer to 100% than how most people are doing it.
Yeah. So let's get real about where you learn this. Learn it from your dad. So here's Joe at 7 years old. Dad, let's get a dog. Joey, let me ask you a question.
Exactly. Yes.
Does the neighbor down the street have a dog? Yeah, Dad. We'll go pet that one. That was Joe's life. In the meantime, get to work. We have a restaurant. Why aren't you working?
I got a question. Why I always ask people, like when they're sitting up at the table, it's one of our jokes in our office, but if they're sitting, like you're supposed to be laying down, your adjustment starts when you walk in the room and you lay down. Not when I walk in. When you walk in, that's when your adjustment starts. So if you're sitting if you're sitting in the chair and I walk in, I'll say to you, why am I looking at your face? I ain't your dentist. Like, you know, I'm not going to look at your teeth. Like, lay down on the table, get out of, you know, gravity. So that was my dad. He'd be like, why am I looking at your face? Are you supposed to be doing something? Let me ask you a question. Didn't I tell you to be down the restaurant and clean up the dining room?
Exactly.
Shit. Yes, you did. Oh, I'm in trouble.
Yeah, I know. That's why it's better not to say, go pet the fucking dog down the street. Why aren't you working? I talking to you. I tell you earlier, what are you doing?
Exactly.
Now my grandfather, this is my grandfather. What's the matter for you? What's the matter for you? That's what he'd say. What's the matter for you?
I'll tell you, I know we only got a couple minutes. I got to tell you a funny story. My grandfather, his name was Antonio Toscano. Absolutely a great guy. He was 24 inches tall, though. He was short, though. He was a really short guy. And I got to be about 19 years old, I'm guessing. And we would take, I became, you know, rite of passage now, because no one wanted to take him anywhere, you know, the store, the doctors, whatever, because he couldn't drive. He bought a new car every 2 years, but he couldn't drive it. So you got to drive his car. He drove a Cadillac, convertible Cadillac. Every 2 years, he'd get a brand new car. So I'm of the age I got to drive him. So I drive him to the cardiologist. He's got to go to the cardiologist. And it's a beautiful white Caddy, Eldorado, red interior, beautiful. And we drive to the doctor's office. We go in, and he's motioning me to come in. Vieni come means like, come on over here. So he's like, oh, Vieni come in. I'm like, no, like what? You know, why do you want me? You know? And I felt kind of embarrassed because he's standing there in his underwear. He's got the suspenders that hold up your socks, you know, the chains, the whole nine yards. So he's standing there in his wife beater, you know, outfit, the whole nine yards. And the doctor finishes, and I'm kind of listening, and they're getting along, they're buddies, you know, and he gets done, he's getting dressed, and he says, Tony, he says, listen, you gotta stop smoking. You gotta stop smoking the cigars, he says. And my grandfather says, doctor, let me ask you a question. He says, what's a man who look like a smoke a cigar? And the doctor's like, Tony, I don't know where you're going with this, you know. And I'm sitting there just listening. He goes, well, what do you look like? When you think a man, you say a man who smoke a cigar, like in your mind, in your imagination, what do you look like? And the doctor says, Tony, like an old Italian guy like you. He goes, exactly. He goes, how can a cigar be bad for you if everyone is smoking a cigar is an old person? He goes, if they were bad for you to be no older people smoking a cigar, I'll be dead. He said, so let me tell you what to kill you, doc. He said, and not a cigar, stress. He goes, a stress will kill you. And he puts his jacket on. He puts his hand on the doctor's shoulder. He goes, you know, doc, he goes, I worry about you. He says, you look like a stressed person. You look all stressed out. And then the ride home, my grandfather was just talking about how stressed out the doctor was. You know, the doctor, you're going to die a young man. You so stressed the doctor was? And 93, lived to be 93 years old. So pretty cool. So
that's so awesome.
So his chiropractic adjustment was a stogie. But hey, he went to a chiropractor. He went to a guy by the name of James, a companion who he actually served in the military with. He was a chiropractor in the area. So my grandfather went minimum once a month or more, always went. And you know why I went? Because it was good for him. He literally was like, I go because it's good for me. He never said like I went because my back or my neck or anything. It's just, hey, it's good to go. So how great is that?
So that's where you got it.
I actually got it from my mother because my chiropractor, and that when I was a kid, made some big changes for me. And I remember my mother saying, well, geez, if it's good for Joey, it must be good for everyone to go. So I remember my mother being challenged by people like, why do you go, Judy? Why do you go to the chiropractor all the time? She'd say, it's good for you. It's good for the kids. You know, because the people would go, why are you bringing your kids to a chiropractor? It's good for them. It's really good. It's good for their health. It makes them healthy. Like, how fucking great is that? Like, we lost that. Like, just go because it's good for you.
Yeah.
You don't have to have sciatica. You know, it's so good simple for you to go. It's healthy for you to go.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
So, I mean, Joey and I can stay on here forever, but I told you, I promised you I'd give you 3 principles. So if you do this on day 1, this is not patient education. It's not patient education. But if you communicate these 3 things, you'll get them to these 3 principles, you'll get them lifestyle on day 1. 1, what they didn't know. So when you're in a consultation, like a pre-consult, you got to establish a common reality, right? Which is spine and nervous system is foundation of life and health of the body. Right? You know, sends energy down the spinal cord, you tell them the whole thing. So 1 is foundation of life and health of the body. So what didn't they know? They didn't know the first 46 years, spine and nervous system is controlling their health and life. 2, what they weren't told. They weren't told the spine and nervous system is controlling their health and life by their pain-based chiropractors. Their pain-based chiropractors probably didn't talk about their asthma, didn't talk about their ulcerative colitis, didn't talk about their sinus problems, didn't relate it. What did? They set a short-term goal. Get rid of your back pain. So what I usually say is, if that's all they did, you had a problem, they temporarily took care of the problem, but they didn't take responsibility for your health. That they didn't want that responsibility. They just solved that problem. So, and then what else weren't they told? Hey, when your MD told you, gave you the prescription for your asthma inhaler, did he tell you one of the most common causes of asthma is injuries to your upper back and neck that weaken the nerves to the lungs and lead to asthma? Did they tell you that? No, they didn't. So here's the thing. It's not your fault they didn't tell you, but if you want to be healthy or you don't want, or you don't like having asthma, would you agree? If you want to be healthy, would you agree it's your responsibility? So yes. 1, what didn't they know? 2, what they weren't told. 3, what they didn't do. And what they didn't do was take care of their spine and nervous system for the first 46 years or whatever of their life. Now, when they're only one problem, every patient only has one problem, what were their belief systems? How did they live their life that got them where they are today? And then once you establish that, what you didn't know, what your doctors didn't tell you, and what you didn't take care of, now from this moment forward, how do you want to live? How do you want to live the rest of your life and take care of your health and the health of your family for the rest of your life? Now, once they get that, because when they're showing up, your goal isn't to solve their health problems. Chiropractic works. You adjust them. If they make chiropractic a lifestyle, their health problems are going to get away. The principle is true. It's a universal law. Right? Exactly. So when they find out what they didn't know, what they weren't told, and what they didn't do, what has to change now that they know? Now, what are you going to do? And what do you want your health to be like for you and your family for the rest of your life? That is a belief system change. You're challenging their old beliefs and you're helping them establish new beliefs. I guarantee you will probably get parents automatically referring their kids. You want to see us pass at day 2? What they didn't know, what they weren't told, what they didn't do. Now you have generational patterns from both sides coming together. That's mama bear will have their husband to day 2 when they know those patterns are going to their kids. Watch mama bear say, oh, he will be with me. Fuck that meeting. This is the health of my family. He will be here.
Exactly correct. Yeah. Yeah.
So rather than education, change their beliefs. What didn't they know? See, now you're poking on uncertainty, man. That's a whole nother emotion.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of times, you know, we're doing that. You don't know it, but when you know and you strategize, you know, it's one of those questions like, if I make a great cake, can you make my cake? Yeah, you don't only need the ingredients, you need the strategy, right? So you need to know, hey, there's an ingredient here. Maybe that's your script and wording, but you also need the strategy. Like one has to come before the other in order for the first one to have some meaning. And you're seeing Fred do that. You know, it's not just the recipe, it's the strategy of when you're going to ask. It's the strategy of when you add the eggs, when you add the flour, when are you adding this versus that. And when you do that, you're going to have a greater degree of influence, which is going to lead them to a realization, which changes their belief. And then that changes their action. It's belief that drives the action. So
absolutely. People live what they believe.
Right. 100%. So
cool,
boom!
man.
Boom!
Boom. There you go. You got some Italian stories, a couple jokes in there, some Boreal history. So what else do you want? Chiro Mafia, man. It's like what else can you get, huh? Forget
so hit us
about
with
it.
some hit us with some people you'd like to have us interview. We'd love to hear what you guys are thinking, no doubt about it. And also tell us why. Like you'll throw out a name out there, but why would you like that? What would you like that person to share? What do you get from listening to that person? That'll be great. That'll help us and Fred and I when we're interviewing, because we want to make sure we get that information and that value for you guys, the listener, no doubt about it. So
there you go. Okay, we love you guys. Thank you for hanging with us, and we'll see you soon. Go
ciao.
to Chiro Mafia page, like it, share, subscribe, share.
How you doing? Hey, ciao, ci vediamo. Ciao.
Yeah. Right on. All right. Love you guys. Peace.
See ya.